India's second T20I against the West Indies was in many ways a pretty thrilling match if you look at it from a neutral perspective. It was low scoring, it ebbed back and forth constantly, and the way the match finished in the end ended up with the team that many would consider the underdog side emerging victorious for the second straight occasion. However, if you're an Indian fan, you'd understandably be frustrated at the fact that once again you have ended up squandering what should have been a golden opportunity to actually win the match, which would actually have put you to, at least 1-all up. Because let's leave aside the first T20, that was done and dusted. This one though was very much in India's hands, especially after Yuzvendra Chahal ended up, let's say, getting those 3 wickets in 1 over. It was 2 wickets, yes, but there was also a run out. So those 3 wickets falling in 1 over pretty much had turned the tide around, and all you really needed was 1 or 2 more wickets to pretty much seal the game. Instead, in the end, West Indies ended up seeing out the Indian Pacers because rather surprisingly, Yuzvendra Chahal was not given a 4th over, and they ended up winning the match, going up 2-0. And at this point, India are facing the very real prospect of losing the series, or if they are to choose not to lose it, they'll have to win their next 3 games on the trot. Not exactly the easiest thing to do, and that is why there have been some rather stinging rebukes, let's say, from cricket experts, former cricketers and the like, and we've taken a few of them. In this video we'll discuss what it is they said, whether or not you agree, disagree with them. That's what we'll be going over. Let's start with someone who's not known to mince words at all, former India pacer Venkatesh Prasad. Venkatesh Prasad took to his Twitter to say this was very, very ordinary. No point in brushing it aside. After the 2007 T20 World Cup, the IPL started and we haven't won a T20 World Cup in 7 attempts since, making only 1 final. The intensity and hunger to win needs to be far more. Yesterday, after Yuzi took 2 wickets in the 16th, and Yuzi got India back into the game in what was his 3rd over, and with the West Indies 8 down, he didn't bowl again. Number 9 and 10 for West Indies found the Pacers easy to handle. Should be smarter at these moments rather than just doing textbook stuff. Now, this is something we did discuss in great length if you watched our post-match show last night as well, where we said that the most logical thing at that point would have been to bring in Yuzvendra Chahal, because the tail-enders would have clearly struggled even more to pick him than what their top and middle order batters did, and therefore he would have, in theory, actually been able to take at least 1 more wicket, or even if he took no wickets, he would have at least stemmed the flow of runs, made it tougher for them to let's say get to that target, because it wasn't that big a target. But if you had left about 15-16 overs in the final over, maybe, just maybe, you could have actually salvaged something from this match. Unfortunately, because Chahal wasn't bowled at all, and instead Hardik Pandya did what as Venkatesh Prasad said, was a textbook thing of going to the Pacers for the death. It didn't work out at all, because Arshdeep went for runs and Mukesh Kumar got hit for so many runs that the match finished with 1.1 overs to spare. Didn't even go to the last over. That's just how bad things were. But of course, Venkatesh Prasad isn't the only one who's voiced such similar opinions. There have been others who said other things. Abhinav Mukund, while speaking to the digital broadcasters, said that 10 times out of 10 you would have gone with Chahal and tried to close out the game there. I was a bit baffled by the decision to go back to Arshdeep. Now, this is also correct when you realize that through this tour, Arshdeep really hasn't been that effective at rattling, let's say, the West Indies batsmen, more often than not, because he doesn't really get that much pace, and because at times all he's reliant on is early movement when the ball is new. Once it reaches the point where he's bowling in either the middle or death overs, Arshdeep has shockingly lost the ability to regularly nail the Yorkers. That was something that actually put him in contention for the Indian team in the first place. His biggest strength was that he could, in an ice cool fashion, nail the Yorkers. That he's unable to do at this point. So I actually agree even more with Mukund's point that if you had to go back to someone else, why Arshdeep? Arshdeep you would have maybe saved for the last over once you'd bowled your better bowlers and actually saved as many runs as possible for the final over. That's not what they did. Robert Uthappa also echoed similar thoughts. He said that I'm just mind blown by how when a guy gets you 3 wickets in an over, essentially you don't bring him back for another one and kind of close the game completely. And that is something we were saying even yesterday, and we'll reiterate it today, is that if you had brought back Yuzi Chahal for that last over, there was every chance he could have gotten at least 1, if not 2 wickets. Yes, there was a risk involved as well by bringing in a spinner in the death, but there was not that much risk for 2 reasons. One, Chahal has bowled very well in the death in the past. In fact, even as recently as the 2023 edition of the Indian Premier League, he was doing it for his franchise, the Rajasthan Royals. And number 2 is that even the top order batters were struggling to pick Chahal. The lower order batters, in theory, would have stood little to no chance. And was it a bit of a gamble even then? Sure. But you didn't have that many runs to play with. You needed to take a gamble, because look what happened when you took the conservative option. You ended up losing anyway. And that has been a familiar trope for the Indian cricket team, in the sense that they'll end up taking the safe option and then end up not actually, winning the match or closing things out. That is no doubt a major problem. Another person who echoed similar thoughts was Wasim Jaffer. He said that I'm kind of surprised. The guy who got you in the game, and for you to not trust him in the 4th over, well, it shocks me. He could have probably finished the game. Again, it's a constant theme that a lot of people have said, is that why was Chahal not trusted? He was bowling like a dream. Remember, even when he was bowling prior to that 3rd over, he was in fact, troubling the batsman considerably. It wasn't just a one-off thing that, they brought him back in that particular over just for the sake of it. The captain knows, the coach knows what exactly it is he's capable of in those moments, and he ended up swinging the match for you. Unfortunately, by not giving him that 4th over, all you ended up doing was handing the advantage right back to the West Indies, and you're left staring at another loss, which could have actually been a rather close fought win. And the tune that would have been coming from a lot of fans would have been a very different one. It would have been one hailing a young side for actually digging deep and being able to pluck a victory from the jaws of defeat. Instead, you have a side that who, despite actually managing to put in the hard yards, then ended up throwing it away when all of the hard work was done and just the finishing touches were needed. Again, that has been a consistent issue with the Indian team. The good news is this T20 side, well, they're a little bit younger, relatively more inexperienced, so the hope is that they will learn from their mistakes. Of course, if they don't, there will be even more questions asked, but for right now, the simple task that is staring down this team is that, well, they're 2-0 down in a 5-match series. They need to win all of their remaining 3 matches to actually emerge victorious in this series, and that's going to be a pretty tall task. Whether or not they can do it, well, that's something you'll only know once the matches happen. And when the matches are happening, you know what you guys should be doing. You should be tuning in to us at Sports Today, because we'll bring you all of the updates and, of course, live coverage from the matches. That's it from us on this particular video. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoy our work, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app. And if you're already on the channel, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done. But for now, from my side, it's goodbye.